There is a fine line between delegating and dumping off. Now, one of the most popular words in our leadership circles this year in 2020 was the word delegating. But was there enough training on how to be a great leader that delegates and not one that dumps off on their team? We'll talk about that today. We've identified some very key points that draws that line in a difference. So stay with us with today's episode of Leader Seats Podcast. Here's a quick word from our sponsor. Hey, so let me tell you a little bit about Anchor Podcast and what it does. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain why. Number one, it's free. Number two, there's actually tools that allow you to record it right from your phone and computer, and you can edit it and everything right there. Super easy. The next thing is that Anchor will help distribute your podcast over Spotify and Apple Podcasts and many other different platforms that you can be heard on. The next thing is that if you're looking to make any kind of income, Anchor can help you with that too. So it's really everything that you need in a podcast all in one place. So wherever you get your apps from, download Anchor Podcasts. And once you get things started, let me know and I'll listen in and see what you're sharing too. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to Leader Seats Podcast with my dad, Jordan. Thanks for joining us. Let's get today started.
Okay, I'm back, and those voices just bring such a smile to my face here. You've got a chance to hear two of my amazing kids doing the introduction today. Just welcome you guys to the podcast. So thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for checking it out. Like you heard in the beginning, we're talking about a fine line between delegation and dumping off. And this actually started, the idea of this started I posted a live on my Instagram, and actually I went live on the Instagram and I had the idea. I jotted down some topics, and we got some feedback from that, and from the feedback and a bit of research kind of going through, this is what brought us to today. So what you're hearing today is actually I guess you want to say maybe the final product in what the idea that was kind of resonating in the past maybe 30 days or so. So I had an idea, woke up in the morning, I seen some things, some observations going on, and just going out there to you guys, to those that are supporting. And you might have seen the Instagram, and this is what we have today, collective. And what was really cool about that is what started with an idea, what started with maybe an observation and an idea, actually had a ton of confirmation as I started to share it. As I started to kind of just drip it with people through Instagram Live and just face-to-face connections, and just kind of have this conversation between delegating and dumping off. It's almost as if there was a sigh of relief, like people was like, oh my goodness, yes. So and what spurred with me with the observation was kind of that sigh of relief, like, okay, wait, something is not resonating here, because I'm a big believer behind the principle of delegating. I mean, delegation is actually a very good leadership principle to learn in healthy leadership. It's really a foundational principle, but the key word is learn. Like, there's a process, there's a training, there's a skill set to learning how to delegate well, because delegation is really about multiplying your impact, right? Us as leaders, we know this. We know that we can only do so much. We can only influence so much. We can only make an impact so much when we're just kind of doing it by addition. When it's by ourselves, right? We add value to people's life. We add value to the team. We add value to our family at home. But we can't multiply it until we start to delegate. That's when we start to multiply the impact that we have in our family, the impact that we have at home, the impact that you have on your business that you're working on, whatever it may be. But there's a big difference between how you add value and then how you multiply value. And that all lies in learning how to delegate well. So we'll talk about today what we kind of looked at, and we identified five key principles that are maybe misunderstood, or there's a fine line between what it can be to delegate and to dump off. Now, when we did the Instagram live, we actually went ahead and I pre-framed it by actually having everyone look at this with two eyes in a sense. So that might be hard because you know your brain is gonna want to gravitate to one, but I want to encourage you, whatever view you're looking at this content with today, I want to encourage you to watch it again with the other view. And the two views are this: the two paradigms I say would be two of these. One is that you're the leader trying to delegate to others. Okay. So you're the leader, you're the parent that's trying to delegate a task to your children at home. You're the manager at work trying to delegate assignments to people at work. You're the boss, you're the entrepreneur, you're the business owner trying to delegate things to your partners or to people, your clients, or whoever it may be. So that's one view where you are delegating tasks out. Here's the second paradigm: when things are being delegated to you, because we all sit in both chairs, right? We are, even if you're a boss, even if you're an entrepreneur, you have clients that are delegating things to you. They have a need, and you're trying to fulfill that need in your business, right? So there's people that are delegating things to you, and you want to make sure that in both views you understand what is delegating and what is dumping off, because you don't want to be, for one, you don't want to be a leader that's dumping off on people, because you're creating a toxic environment, because you're leading people to burnout, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. I know that might be hard to hear, but that's why this has been resonating so strong with me, because we don't want to do it intentionally at all. Well, we don't want to do it unintentionally, and we definitely don't want to do it intentionally to lead people to burnout, because we're dumping things off on them and we're calling it delegation, right? Now, the second thing is, you want to guard your heart, you want to guard yourself, you want to have a boundary in your leadership life to stay healthy, and you don't want people dumping things off on you. Now, you'd like for them to delegate to you, because that way you can build that bridge, but you definitely don't want people to dump things off on you. And there's certain ways to make sure that that happens too. So we'll talk about that today. If you're taking notes, great job. If you're not able to right now, no worries. If you're driving or maybe working out or something, then that's totally cool. But I encourage you also to listen to it again when you get a chance, when you have an opportunity to write notes down, because these things will come out. This is kind of like a mini training. We have big workshops we do face to face, we do webinars, but these podcasts are kind of like these mini trainings that we're wrapping things up in. So you want to be able to write them down, because it really helps you in the end to really learn the principles and apply it better, not just to hear it out, right? You want to actually write things down so you can actually put it into play of how you can actually live these principles out. So we're going to start, like I said, there's five principles that we identified that get kind of misunderstood. The first one is, delegation is when you empower decisions. So write that down if you're taking notes. Number one, you're delegating when you're empowering a decision to the person. Now, this is scary because they can make the wrong decision, right? Right. So sometimes dumping off is when we give a task, but they're not able to decide. We just want people to do something, don't ask questions, just do it. That's really dumping off. There's really no building a person in that situation. There's no development. A key word in delegating is development, is developing. So when you delegate, we're empowering the person to decide. Now, there's different levels of decision, but we want to make sure that the task we're giving them, that they also have an authority to make decisions in that task too. Now, it's scary, because like I said, they could make the wrong decision. But look, to be encouraged. Nobody makes the right decision all the time. Like, I can raise my hand right now, and I know that you can too, right? When we're really honest with ourselves, we know that we never made the right decision every time. I mean, really, like, where do good decisions come from? Bad decisions. That's it. That, whether we made them or we've seen other people make bad decisions, like, that's how we have good decisions, right? So give that person the chance, give that person the grace to actually, hey, maybe not get it right 100% of the time, but look, no one's going to get harmed. This is how we learn, and you stay close with them to actually go ahead and guide them back to the right decision, help them process, oh, that maybe that was the wrong decision. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we could have done this better. And this is the part where we're delegating, right? Dumping off looks totally different. Dumping off is giving somebody a task and they're not able to decide. You're kind of tying their hands. There's no development, right? There's no authority in it. It's just a task list. That's dumping off, right? Now, if that's what you want to do, as long as we're calling it as we are, as it is, we're not just calling it delegating and we're dumping off, right? So once again, recapping, number one, to delegate is to empower decisions. To dump off is to give a task with no authority for a decision. Here's number two. Number two, delegate. To delegate is to prepare them for success. You want to prepare them for success. Keyword prepare. You see, the word prepare shows that there was work done prior to this decision that needed to be made. A lot of times, delegation happens because there is an impulse decision that needs to be made, and we realize that we haven't done the prep work. We haven't been training our team. We haven't been investing in them for this moment. Now there's a time that we need an impulse. There's a need, there's an emergency. And what do? We dump off. We dump off tasks on them because we haven't done the prep work. That's it. Delegation and number two is when we prepare them for success, right? When we dump things on them, it's almost as if we're preparing them to fail. It's almost as if that we got to call it as it is, really. When we dump off on them or when we get things dumped off on us, it's almost as if we are set up to fail. We are prepared to fail in a sense, right? We've all kind of been there in a certain time, whether it was place of work or maybe in business or even at home, right? But we have to call it as it is. Now, dumping off is when there's an impulse for a need that we didn't prepare for. It's like these emergencies that happen because they're always going to happen, right? So a big question that people ask when we're talking about this, I processed it with a few people and they said, well, how do you prepare for things that you don't know of? Well, you don't, it's not preparing for the specific moment. You see, preparation has everything to do with growing. The more you grow, the more you're prepared. And there's specific steps to growing as leaders, right? We can always grow, we can always sharpen our leadership skills. So what plan do you have? What plan do you have in growing? We're going to cover that in the next step. Number three, if you're taking notes, number three, delegation is the mindset is to build leaders. So when you're delegating, you have a written development plan. Keyword written. I talked to a few different people and we're processing this, and kind of the quick answer is, oh yeah, of course I have a development plan. And my quick response is, well, let me see it, let's check it out. And it's hard to see how many times it's not written. Well, I know it, I have it in my head, I know it. Like, no. It has to be written. It has to be that important in your life. It has to be that important in your relationship. It has to be that important in this, that we have it written down. Now, it's not written in stone. It can change, but it has to be written down. When we're delegating, see, the mindset, if the mindset is to build leaders, then we have a written development plan for that, right? We have a timestamp on it. We have certain things that we're working on it. We have accountability. We have check-in points. That's when we're delegating. When we're dumping off is when we want people more to collect hands without the training, right? We just want to look at, we have a task. We want to see how many hands can I get on this task? And that's it. And we don't provide any training. That's the wrong mindset. That's when we're dumping off, right? That's the fine line, right? So the fine line, I guess we can say in this one, is having a written development plan. That's when we're delegating. Number 4, delegation is when it's others focused. Now, before you push this away and you start to think it's too easy to now just stay with me. It's all about developing. It's all about developing. It's others focused. Remember, delegation usually comes because there's a need and it's impulse and there's an emergency and there's too much on the plate and we want to get things off of our plate, right? Now that's a good that leader that's trying to do that. They're actually trying to stay healthy, which is good. But to just be subject to the need to dump things off on someone else, that's not good because we're passing on what's about to burn us out. We're passing that on to someone else. Look at like here's an example. It's like if I had a match in my hand, right? And it wasn't lit. It was just a match. I'm not nervous right now, right? I'm not nervous. If I did some preparation and I made sure I had something by me to put it out if it actually struck and there was a flame here, then I would be okay. I'd be even better. But if I didn't do any preparation and something strike the match and it caught flame, the emergency in releasing this is actually getting stronger right now, right? Because this match is now it's on fire. And as it gets closer to my hand, there's a greater sense of emergency that starts to happen in me. And what happens is this is like how when we have things in our business and our life and our family that we haven't prepared for, and now something struck it and there's a flame that's burning in our hand. And we want to quickly pass it off to somebody and we call it delegation. But the thing is, if we did nothing to prepare for the flame, and we pass that on, who gets burnt? The person that we passed it on to, right? We want to stay healthy. We don't want to get burnt. But hey, take this match. You got it. And we be positive. Go, you can do it. I believe in you. And we did nothing to support them. That's the picture of what happens when we're dumping things off. That's why I say we actually hurt people. That's why you say we can't push this away when we think others focus and oh, that's too easy. No, no. It has to be others focus. If we're looking at ourselves more, we're looking at that, oh, the fire, the match caught fire. Oh, and we gotta pass this on. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking about me not getting burnt. But if I'm others focused and I'm thinking, wait, I don't want to pass this fire that's going to burn me to burn the other person. How do I prep them? How do I put this fire out? Or how do I learn right now so I make sure I'm prepared next time? Right? That's what we need to do. I might need to drop some other things in my other hand that I'm holding on to hold this flame differently so I can prepare well. Okay, there's much more detail in your specific situation. I understand that, but right now we can't do that on the podcast. In our coaching sessions and our mastermind sessions, we get a chance to really go to people's specific situations and apply this principle to their life so they can actually implement that in their life. But we do that in our masterminds, in our coaching sessions. Here on the podcast, we're just trying, like I said, mini training, trying to go over the topics. So once again, that's the example there. To delegate is others focus. To dump is when you want to just get things off your shoulder. We don't want to do that. Here's the last one, and we'll wrap things up. Number 5, to delegate, there is a process to delegate. There is several meetings when you're delegating to someone else. There's check-ins when you go back and you check in how they're doing, and you can help them adjust when you're delegating because there's a process, several meetings. The difference with dumping it off, it happens in one moment, one meeting, zero follow up. That's it. We actually destroy people. Now, that's a strong word, and I want to use that word. I'm specifically intentionally using that word because we really do destroy people when we just have one meeting, one moment, assign them a task, walk away. There's no process, there's no development, there's no check in. That's when we're dumping things off on people, or that's when things are trying to be dumped off on us. I always, when you're leading up, if there's any emergency, if people are coming, I want to see, okay, when are we meeting again for this? And if there's no time to meet, I'm gonna set a time to meet. I'm gonna ask my leader, hey, when are we meeting again for this? Oh, do we need to meet? Absolutely. There's a process in this delegation. I'm gonna have more questions as I take this task on. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna adjust. So we have to meet again and several times, right? So this is how we can hold our we can lead up if anything else, right? And have them, if they don't have a process, if they don't have several meetings, we can ask for them before we accept that task. We can ask, hey, where is the process in this delegation? Once again, if we're looking at it in eyes that we're delegating to people, we want to have several meetings set. Even though the need was to take things off your plate, you still got it off your plate, you still delegated a task, you're still developing somebody, but you're not burning them out. You're actually supporting them in their growth. That's why delegation is so powerful when used properly. Because if it's used improperly, it can really destroy people. When it's used properly, with good skill set, with good training, you actually build leaders and you multiply your impact that you're already having. Once again, when you do that and the person grows, they're more happy, they're more fulfilled, and you get much more engagement in your team, in your family, whatever it may be that you're applying this in. We don't want to be leaders that create toxic environments. We don't want to do that. And not getting the right training, by doing this, by dumping things off, what happens is that we end up creating toxic environments that eventually good people end up leaving, and we don't want to do that. We see exit doors in organizations much more than people lining up to be hired there or join the team, because people sense a toxic environment. And even though we give them good benefits, even though we pay them appropriately, people will go other places that's not toxic, because especially right now in a pandemic, especially in a crisis mode, people don't need that toxicity, especially in their work or in their business or in any relationship. So they're really trying to balance that. So we want to be leaders that are going out there and delegating, which is pouring into people and developing them. If you want to know more, we always have great insights and everything else. But just give us a call, message us, let us know. We can set up a time to chat and we can share more of what's going on. The best thing is just stay connected, because as you stay connected, you're going to hear things that are coming up. We're actually launching a 5-week mastermind that's starting tomorrow. And I only tell you that because I want to give you a heads up of what comes up in the future. We do these every so often when we actually get a group of leaders to go together. There's a collaborative effort and we get to learn from one another. It's extremely powerful. One of my favorite programs that we get a chance to do here. So just stay connected with us. You're here when the next one's coming up. Follow us on Instagram if you're not following us there. The Instagram channel there is JM Leadership Group, at JM Leadership Group. You can follow us there. We have a YouTube channel. We have all the links right actually attached right here to this. But if you found value in this, go ahead, subscribe, hit the like, maybe even put a review on whatever platform that you're listening to there. I greatly appreciate that. It'll allow us to continue to reach more people in the leadership community and just continue to provide content for healthy, foundational leadership that lasts. With that being said, guys, thank you for listening today. That's a wrap for today's session with our Leadership podcast. Go ahead, make today great by going out there, serving greater, and being the leaders that last the test of time. This is Jordan, signing off.